So let's continue reading of Real Magic by Dean Radin, PhD. Just watching bloopers, pretty funny, and looking at best TV news bloopers fails. I have a picture of the funny local news, which you can subscribe to. It's seemingly a news reporter. It says police search for subject is the caption, and they have a picture of the guy, drawing of the picture of the guy that they're looking for, and it looks pretty much like the guy in the news reporter. It's pretty funny. Made me think about Elmer Fudd for some reason, and his search for what's it called again? Bugs Bunny. And he's walking around with this shotgun at all times. And he is always caught searching for Bugs Bunny by Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny always comes up inconspicuously, starts talking to him. Does Elmer Fudd know that that's actually Bugs Bunny? He's so intently looking for Bugs Bunny that he doesn't realize that Bugs Bunny is the one talking to him. And he says something like, "What are you looking for, Doc?" And Elmer Fudd is so in the zone looking for Bugs Bunny that he doesn't realize that that's him, and he goes to describing Bugs Bunny. Oh, okay, maybe I can help you find him. He's like looking under a tree or in some bush or something, and he says, "What do he look like? And did he have long ears like this?" Yeah, that sounds like him. And he's like, look. They never even looked at him. And then he says, "Well, did he have a fluffy white tail like this?" Yeah, he had a fluffy white tail. And then, did he hop around like this? I just thought it was hilarious. It was my idea of what one would call absent insight. I could be wrong, and there may be other perspectives, research on it, or experts on it, and we can all fall prey to that at any time. I just thought it was hilarious. So I want to share that with you. I'll continue reading where I left off from this chapter, Real Magic. Chapter 6, Scientific Evidence. And that's, once again, Dean Radin, PhD. Force of Will, Quantum Consciousness. A February 2017 Big Questions article in the BBC's online magazine BBC Earth was the topic of the strange link between the human mind and quantum physics. It reviewed the observer effect in quantum mechanics, whereby observing an elementary quantum object, such as a photon or an electron, affects its behavior. This shyness effect, which is well accepted in physics, but still quite mysterious, is thought by some to have something to do with consciousness. The BBC article describes that possibility, but then disparages what it calls the New Age cottage industry for using quantum concepts to support ideas like psychic phenomena. The popular association between what skeptics have labeled quantum flapdoodle and actual quantum physics makes it difficult for legitimate physicists interested in the observer effect to compound on its implications. Guess no one wants an armchair physicist. But not everyone is so reticent. Adrian Kent is a respected professor of quantum physics at the University of Cambridge. In an interview with the BBC, Kent proposed that it might be possible that consciousness affects the behavior of quantum systems, and that someday it might even be possible to detect such effects in laboratory experiments. He then went out on a limb and cautiously predicted that there might be a 15% chance that his proposal was correct and a 3% chance that this would be confirmed within the next half century. That's very exciting. It's too bad we have to wait 50 years to learn if consciousness is related to physics. Then again, maybe we don't have to wait that long. We've already seen that one of the Six Sigma classes of psi experiments, PSI experiments that is, involves testing the effect of intention on RNGs, random number generators, where the randomness is based on quantum properties. Hundreds of such experiments have been published since the 1960s. In 2003, the effect was even successfully replicated by a staunch skeptic. Starting in 2008, my colleagues and I began a series of experiments to look more closely at the quantum observer effect. In journals including Physics Essays and Quantum Biosystems, we described 17 experiments using various types of optical systems to test, as Adrian Kent proposed, whether consciousness would affect the behavior of quantum systems in a detectable way. Most of our experiments used double-slit optical systems. Anyone see the double-slit experiment? These are elegantly simple devices used extensively in physics to explore the quantum nature of photons, particles of light. They consist of a source of light, two tiny parallel slits that light can pass through, and a camera that records the resulting pattern of light. The source of light might be an incandescent bulb or a laser, both of which can produce umpteen trillions of photons per second. Or it may be a fancier arrangement that's designed to generate one photon at a time. The two slits in our optical setups were about 200 microns, millionths of a meter apart, and each slit was about 10 microns wide. The camera can be a high-resolution digital camera, or it might be a device called a line camera, which has a line of sensors all in a row, each of which is extremely sensitive to variations in light intensity. The reason this simple setup is so popular is because it's easy to mathematically describe the behavior of light in the apparatus, and also because it's a convenient way to demonstrate the quantum observer effect. This effect refers to the fact that light pattern produced by this apparatus differs depending on whether one knows or can know in principle if the photons pass through the left slit or the right slit. If you know, then the pattern that the camera sees is what one would expect if the photons were acting like little particles. But if you don't know, then the pattern looks like photons were behaving like waves. This wave-like versus particle-like difference suggests that there is something peculiar about the role of observation, and that strangeness opens the door to the possibility that consciousness and the physical world might interact in fundamental ways. Overall, our experiments suggest that what Adrian Kent was pondering is in fact true. The overall odds against chance in our series of studies ranged from a conservative 27,000 to 1 to a liberal 17,000 trillion to 1, depending on the assumptions used when combining the experimental results. Depending on the assumptions used when combining the experimental results. Four of our double-slit systems used continuous beam lasers as a source of photons. One used a light source that produced one photon at a time. We even ran a series of experiments over the internet to study the role of distance between the participants and the optical system. More than 1,500 people participated in that study over the course of 3 years, somewhere as far as 18,000 kilometers away from our laboratory. We found that the distance between the participants and the optical systems didn't matter. The average effects were the same, regardless of distance. 2 independent physicists reviewed our raw data from these experiments and both confirmed that our reported results were correct. Of greater significance, a series of independent replications of our work by a physicist at the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil were highly successful. A talk I gave at a conference in April 2016 that summarized our 17 studies was posted on YouTube, and as of July 2017, it had been viewed over 500,000 times. The role of resonance. A series of experiments at the University of Edinburgh in the 1970s and 1980s used RNGs, random number generators, to explore mind-matter interactions. Participants were asked what kinds of mental strategies they used and which ones produced the best outcomes. The most successful participants reported that a subjective sense of resonance or feeling at one with the RNG was a key factor. Another was the paradoxical concept of effortless striving. This means you must absolutely want the desired outcome more than anything you've ever desired, a passionate, obsessive, overwhelming desire. But at exactly the same time, you must also maintain zero anxiety about it. Yikes. This contradictory state is by no means easy to achieve, but it does bear similarity to states that can be achieved in meditation, visualization exercises, and focused concentration. Of the different intentional strategies participants used in RNG studies, the most successful in terms of their actual performance were, in decreasing order, resonance, then asking entities, spirits, or angels for assistance, using emotion to help power the will, one-pointed concentration, physical relaxation, visual imagery, and finally, talking to the RNG as though it were a sentient creature, much as children might talk to their teddy bears, or as a car mechanic might talk to a misbehaving engine. Princeton University Pear Laboratory, PEAR Laboratory, active from 1979 to 2007, conducted a long series of RNG studies, and they too asked the participants what strategies they were using when they got the best response from the RNG, the random number generator. Their comments were similar to those found at Edinburgh. A state of immersion in the process which leads to a loss of awareness of myself and the immediate surroundings, similar to the experience of being absorbed in a game, book, or theatrical performance or some creative occupation. I don't feel any direct control over the device, more like a marginal influence when I'm in resonance with the machine. It's like being in a canoe. When it goes where I want to float with it. When it doesn't, I try to break the flow and give it a chance to get back in resonance with me. A third series of experiments using RNGs explored the role of absorption in more detail. This refers to a state of mind where the distinction between oneself and the RNG dissolves. Psychologist Lonnie Nelson, then at the University of Arizona, explored how the subjective depth of absorption affected PSI performance. He consistently found a positive relationship between his influence of the RNG, the random number generator, and the depth of absorption. He concluded, the results are consistent with the hypothesis that states of absorption associated with changes in perception of time and experience of trance-like awareness are associated with replicable alterations in an electromagnetically shielded REG device. In sum, laboratory observations and experiments indicate that experiences described as resonance, absorption, and effortless striving are all associated with improved performance in intentional tasks. These experiences are in alignment with a key goal in magical practice, especially for spell casting and other intentional acts, of working from a state of consciousness that sees through the illusion of separateness. Blessed chocolate. In the ritual of Eucharist, a Catholic priest is said to be the instrument through which the power of the Holy Spirit transforms bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. For the devout, this act, called transubstantiation, is not just a symbolic act. It's a genuine miracle, an act of pure magic. The act of blessing water, wine, and bread plays a dominant role in many religious rituals, and the practice of offering a toast with food or drink is universal. On occasion, consuming blessed food or water is said to result in remarkable healings. The conventional explanation for such reports is that belief becomes biology. That is, that any such healings are due to the placebo effect. There is another possibility. Blessing food may be regarded as a magical expression of the force of will. That is, one common type of food blessing is an expression of gratitude for the plants or animals sacrificed on your behalf. But another type includes the intention that the food about to be consumed is safe and nourishing. If you haven't thought much about the second type of blessing, you may want to spend a few hours learning about foodborne diseases and then read the health inspection reports of your favorite restaurants. Then again, perhaps you shouldn't, because according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 200 known diseases are transmitted through food, and bad food causes an estimated 76 million illnesses, 325,000 hospitalizations, and 5,000 deaths every year in the United States alone. That's info for you. In other words, it goes beyond mere academic interest to wonder if intentionally blessing your food may prevent your delicious restaurant meal from accidentally killing you. To find out, we conducted a double-blind experiment to see if beneficial intentions, a blessing directed toward chocolate, would elevate the mood of people who ate it. More than the exact same chocolate that wasn't blessed. More than the exact same chocolate that wasn't blessed. Okay, above and beyond. This is not like testing if blessed salmonella can be magically cured of its toxic effects. Okay, but you've got to start somewhere without putting people at risk. A double-blind design is used to offset ordinary expectation effects. So if we see an interesting result, we'll know it's not due to the placebo effect. Okay, so I'll leave this here for now, and then I'll continue reading on page 106, the first chapter, the second chapter on page 106 of Real Magic by Dean Radin. Thank you.